Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Xenia. I hope you're having a lovely Monday, and today I come to you with a Poetry Mondays episode. I will be reading from one of my favorite authors of personal narrative, but she's also a lovely poet. And I feel like this episode might be a little bit longer than usual because I just love her work, and I also want to read a couple of her snippets on writing to you. And she really transformed me as a person, honestly. I read all of her journals slightly before quarantine and during quarantine. I read all of her journals except for the one on 80. And I just so loved her journal at 70. And I was so surprised that I had so much insight from this elderly woman. And it made me appreciate my life so much more. I was reading it during quarantine and I was like, this is how I want to mature. This is who I want to become with that kind of intentional living, that kind of focus on beauty and seeing and a kind of inner evolution. And she just remains one of my favorite authors. I read two of her fiction novels too, and I love them, but because I read so much of her journals before that, I could kind of see all of the points of her journal enmeshed in them, and I still prefer the raw source kind of better, kind of like approach better. So I just love her journals. I'll be rereading them. I have almost all of them. I will be reading the one at 80 a little bit later when I'm closer to that age, probably. But she just feels like such a good friend after reading them. And I also read her letters to her parents, to her lover, and to her friends. And it was just so insightful, full of so much wisdom and honesty, authenticity, and beauty. So, anyways, let's get into it. I want to read a excerpt from an essay she wrote on poetry. It's called The Writing of a Poem, and she calls poetry a holy game in it. In what does the holiness of the game of poetry consist? Is it not in the quality of the experience that precedes the writing? For the writing of poetry is first of all a way of life, and only secondarily a means of expression. It is a life discipline, one might almost say, a discipline maintained in order to perfect the instrument of experiencing the poet himself, so that he may learn to keep himself perfectly open and transparent, so that he may meet everything that comes his way with an innocent eye. I thought that was so beautiful. How the discipline is to become more perfect at the instrument of experiencing life. Like we are an instrument that we tune through our different creative practices in order to experience life more fully, more beautifully, more nuanced. So the first poem I'm going to read is called The Work of Happiness. I thought of happiness, how it is woven out of the silence in the empty house each day, and how it is not sudden and it is not given, but is creation itself, like the growth of a tree. No one has seen it happen, but inside the bark another circle is growing in the expanding ring. No one has heard the root go deeper in the dark, but the tree is lifted by this inward work, and its plumes shine, and its leaves are glittering. Sorry. So happiness is woven out of the peace of hours, and it strikes its roots deep in the house alone. The old chest in the corner, cool waxed floors, white curtains softly and continually blown as the free air moves quietly about the room. A shelf of books, a table, and the whitewashed wall. These are the dear familiar gods of home, and here the work of faith can best be done. The growing tree is green and musical. For what is happiness but growth and peace? The timeless sense of time when furniture has stood a life's span in a single space. As the air moves, So the old dreams stir, the shining leaves of present happiness. No one has heard thought or listened to a mind, but where people have lived in inwardness, the air is charged with blessing and does bless. Windows look out on mountains, and the walls are kind. So this work about happiness, it's very much about a kind of building up that kind of inward kindness, inward experience, inward tuning that instrument, as she mentioned in the essay, like tuning the instrument of experience and creating your own happiness, weaving it out of the piece of ours. For what is happiness but grows in peace? We create our inner worlds, and in doing so, in tuning that instrument, we kind of bless the house. We select beautiful things that are congruent with us to be in our space, and slowly, as we kind of build up that energy, the same kind of energy of contemplation and beauty and just attention, the space starts to hold it. I thought that was such a beautiful image of cultivating and evolving inwardly and beautifying your space, beautifying the world, because you carry that energy with you. You carry that happiness outwardly too. So the second poem I want to read is a little bit longer, so bear with me, but it's very good. She talks about time. It's titled On Being Given Time. Sometimes it seems to be the inmost land all children still inhabit when alone. They played the game of mourning without end, and only lunch can bring them startled home, bearing in triumph a small speckled stone. Animals too live in that open world. We may tease up the sleeping furry ball, but starfish paws will gently be unfurled and furled again, and the cat all recurled so roundly, the interruption quite unreal. Scholars and lovers make the midnight blaze, spring an hour open to hold 3 centuries. They are the joyful jugglers of the days, replacing clocks, these rigid enemies, with thought and passion conjured as they please. We have been long aware that time's no toy, to be manipulated like a clever engine with little hands that take away all joy. Sweet flowing time the children still enjoy has natural and nonchalant dimension. Yet even for them too much dispersal scatters what complex form the simplest game may hold, and all we know of time that really matters we've learned from moving clouds and waters, where we see form and motion lightly meld. Not the fixed rigid object, clock or mind, but the long ripple that opens out beyond, the duck as he swims down the tranquil pond, or when a wandering falling leaf may find and follow the formal downpath of the wind. It is perhaps our most complex creation, a lovely skill we spend a lifetime learning, something between the world of pure sensation and the world of pure thought, a new relation, as we held in balance the globe turning. Even a year's not long, yet moments are. This moment, yours and mine, and always given. When the leaf falls, the ripple opens far, and we go where all animals and children are. The world is open, love can breathe again. It's so beautiful, and it talks about just being present, in a way embodying the childishness that comes with being in the moment, realizing that we're creating this moment anew, and it's always new. It's what we make of it, it's what we tune ourselves to be present with, you know? Even a year's not long, yet moments are. It's all about that moment and feeling it, feeling the wind, feeling all the sensations, and allowing our hearts to open and letting love breathe through us into the world, into the wind, into the ripples that is time, that is living, that is transformation, constant transformation. She calls the clock and the mind as rigid, fixed objects, and how what we learn from is the natural world, the moving clouds and waters, where we see form and motion lightly meld. It's very much in resonance with me because I think life is about transformation and full embodiment and being present with yourself, being present with others, really listening, really observing the world and all of its glory and all of its complexity, and feeling empathy and just enjoyment in being, and allowing your heart to open, to encompass the world, and to take care of it as part of yourself in a way, to see how we're all connected. She talks about that ripple that goes out every moment, everything's connected. So, yeah, if you haven't read any of her poems, I would recommend. This selection has some of the highlights of many of her works, but I did read all of her journals in their entirety, except for at 80. So, read it. Get this book if you want. Love the excerpts. And the introduction is brilliant here, too. I've really gotten into reading the introductions the past year. And the introduction to this one is so good. That quote on her experience of writing poetry and how she perceives it. And that was brilliant. If you want me to read more of her poems, I'm more than eager to do so. But for now, I'll probably do a different poet next week. So stay tuned for that. Have a lovely Monday. I hope this beautiful poem makes your day a little bit brighter. I know how tedious Mondays can be sometimes. Anyways, if you enjoy these poems, leave a comment, and I'll see you next Monday. Until then, bye.